It felt good, but I was like,
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the January 9th Police and Public Safety Committee meeting. I'm going to begin by taking attendance. I have Councilman Brennan. Supervisor Cassie Dorian is on her way.
Thanks.
I have Town Clerk Michelle Martinelli. Comptroller Kara Parks. Confidential Secretary Kelly Garpino. We also have Michael Clack. Health Mayor Laura Robertson. We have the Chair of the Complete Streets, Bill Chapman.
Hi, Bill.
Okay. We were unable to vote on the November minutes because we didn't have a quorum. I would need a motion to accept those minutes by someone who is a voting member.
motion.
Do I have a second?
I don't think I was here. Was I? I don't in December.
At least for the November.
The November meeting.
Oh, yes, then I'll get second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then for the December 4th meeting minutes, I need a motion.
Motion.
I can second them. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. To begin operationally, I just want to go over some end of year 2025 highlights. As we close out 2025, I'm just going to read something briefly about the things that we did this year in our department. Our department applied for and successfully administered approximately $600,000 in grant funding to include new equipment, such as 2 fully outfitted traffic and community engagement vehicles, Taser 10s for everybody, and fully refurbished our gym and wellness area with the very best equipment for our officers and also our town employees. Our department successfully implemented our new SRO program with the Niskuna Central School District. Sergeant Mara has been given outstanding reviews so far. He continues to be a resource for our school district community to build positive relationships. Our department was officially recognized and awarded accreditation by the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services at the council meeting that was on December 4th of 2025. The Niskuna Police Department has been recognized through this as adhering to the most professional standards and policies in policing, which promotes confidence in our community and at large in our law enforcement department. And then I'm also just going to go over some brief stats. And we don't get too much into stats as a police department publicly, but I want to just touch on some things. Last year, our total calls were 30,411 calls. It can be deceiving because a lot of what goes into those numbers, some of them are proactive, some of them are obviously calls for service reactive. It's sort of a total summation of those. Even if, and I don't want to call it the fluff, but even if I were to take out some of the calls that were proactive calls that we do, we still were in excess of 15,000 calls for actual service from last year, which is continuing to increase year by year. I had done a 10-year analysis that I was working on to show Councilman Brennan as well as the town supervisor for staffing purposes, just that, our call volume continues to increase year on year. And it's something we're going to have to monitor and look at as we move forward into our budget season for 2027. Total arrests for 2025 were 522. Just to put that in perspective, the next highest year was in 2024, which was 483. So again, numbers continue to go up. Our total summons issued last year for traffic was 4,641.
Say that again?
Our total summons were 4,641. Our total crashes were 607. And overall, as I said, the numbers just continue to increase exponentially. Just to give folks sort of an idea, again, perspective on traffic summons that were issued, for instance, like in the middle of COVID, we were down as low as 1,000 one year, right? So now that we have a traffic community engagement division, now that we're getting staffing that has been sustained and hopefully, knock on wood, continues to sustain, even though we have a lot of members that are up for retirement, those numbers and that work production is continuing to increase. We are seeing a lot of different types of calls, animal control calls I'm going to bring up later on, and things of that nature. And it's something that we just need to constantly be mindful of as we continue to staff the police department and decide what the best direction for the police department is for our community at large. But I'm very proud of the work and the highlights that I mentioned before of our department for 2025, and we're excited for 2026. We've hit the ground running, and hopefully it's going to be another really successful year for us, and we continue to meet the needs and exceed the needs of what our community is asking us to do. Also under operations, I just mentioned dog complaints. We've had ongoing dog complaints, obviously, through our town. We've had different discussions. We got a dangerous dog agreement, all these other things. One of the things that has come up recently that was brought to our attention was sort of the enforcement mechanism with regards to fees associated with dogs. We've had a couple people in the past and then more recently mentioned to us that they would like to see the penalties for continuous dogs running at large to be higher. In-town code currently, the first offense is not to exceed $50. The second offense is $100 not to exceed, and the third offense is $250 in each subsequent offense. I talked to Town Attorney Finnan about this. We don't want to be laying fees on people who have their dog accidentally get out of their house. That's not the intention of this. However, the repeat offender section of this, I think that we need to significantly increase. And what I said to Town Attorney Finnan, we almost need to mirror under the impoundment fees. There's sort of this concept of, if there's one or two in a year, it escalates to this. And maybe we could do some sort of a staggered approach where, if you have 3 in a year, maybe it's a really substantial fee. We're putting the onus back on the owner because we have folks in our community that are feeling very frustrated about the fact that dogs are getting loose and intimidating their dogs or barking at their dogs or running onto their property and all those other things. So I think we need to have a continued conversation of within a prescribed time frame, if you have 2 or more, substantially increasing that penalty section so that folks are very cognizant of the fact that this is becoming frustrating for their neighbors in the community at large.
Do you have other area towns or cities that have something similar?
I haven't looked, to be honest with you. I know, like I said, in our impound fees alone, we have an escalator clause within years, right? And I thought we could just mirror that and maybe just increase it substantially.
There definitely needs to be an incentive for them to at least try to keep the dogs in their property.
And it puts a burden on our resources as well, right? Every time a dog is taken in, it ends up being very difficult for our police department and our DCO because half the time APF doesn't have room, right? And now we are always navigating the fact that even if we take the dog, where do we bring it? So if we can eliminate the dog being loose by making the penalty higher and getting people's attention, maybe that would take some of the burden off the resources that we don't have.
Maybe in the next newsletter, we can put something out there. Just reminding people of the license of their dogs, what happens when they get out.
Did anybody else have anything else with regards to that? Okay. Under fleet and equipment, we have the purchase of 2 police vehicles. We're trying to get way ahead of it year by year. Obviously, there are a lot of factors that go into purchasing vehicles that are outside of our control, to include what the global market and crisis at that moment is. We did put out a mini bid going into this year, and we received the results. The lowest bidder was Metro Ford, which is pretty awesome because that's the second or third year now that they have been our lowest bidder, and they also happen to be a business that's in our town. So that's pretty awesome that they're the ones winning our bid. The total for the purchase of just the vehicles is $88,298.66. That's for 2 Ford Explorers. And that will have to go on for resolution. Also under fleet and equipment, I mentioned in our highlights, we did purchase the Taser 10s. We have now a surplus of tasers that are not worth, basically anything. There are websites that amongst law enforcement where people just basically send each other the parts from the old tasers because they don't have the money to buy new ones. They don't really have a value. We have 10 tasers though that I sent Kelly the serial numbers for in the back of documentation that we need to surplus. I didn't have anything under buildings specifically. Under training, our department members are completing training on procedural justice and implicit bias through our Police One Academy platform currently. This is an annual training that we do. Niskuna Police Department members are completing annual training in sexual harassment and discrimination. I always put that, well, I started to put that on there. That's just a reminder because theoretically we need to do that townwide with all employees. And I can send you, Kara, the email that we generally send with the New York State training videos and questionnaires so that we can push it out to everybody. But our department is going to be completing that hopefully between this month and next month.
That was fine. We did it
Last year we did.
last spring.
Yeah,
Last spring. So I still have one on file.
yeah. It's, besides the fact that we should all be doing it anyways, it affects our grants, right? It's a compliance policy and training policy that we have to have for our grants that we apply for. Officer Spencer is currently attending the breath analysis operator training at the Warren County Sheriff's Office. Officer Thomasone is going to be attending basic crash management training at the Warren County Sheriff's Office January 12th through the 16th. Detectives Daly and Spataro will be attending training on collaborative child abuse casework at the Skankey County Child Advocacy Center on January 12th. Also under training, we do our annual resolution for payment of the 2026 membership fees for Zone 5 Regional Law Enforcement Academy. And the total on that is $5,130. That has to go to resolution, I believe, also. Under citizen correspondence, we had Grand Boulevard that was ongoing. We had a resident, reach out to us about speed. I want to preface it by saying we did run an analysis because that's what we tend to do. However, I was just reiterating to Town Planner Will Robertson today, and for the public that's watching, the county has a plan that they will be redoing that area with traffic calming measures in the near future. We thought it was going to be in the fall, but it got pushed, correct? And do we have an anticipated date on when that is going to be at this point or no?
Spring 2026.
Spring?
Yeah.
So even though we're talking about this, there is help on the way from the county with regards to a redesign of certain aspects of that road. The analysis was run from December 7th through December 17th, and there were 26,240 vehicles that were analyzed. The average speed during that time frame was 32 miles an hour, and then the 85th percentile was 36 miles an hour. We have had our traffic and community engagement division go out there and speaking with Ian Munger about it. There were some outliers, but the outliers, I think he said, were a total of what we consider high speeds, in the 40s to 50, were about 14 out of those 26,240 vehicles, which sounds like a good number, but if you're living there, obviously anybody that's going very fast by your house is a concern. So in conjunction with the enforcement and education that we're going to do with the patrol officers and the traffic community engagement division, the county is going to be constructing some traffic calm measures, narrowing the lanes, doing some parking spots and things of that nature coming up in the near future. Mr. Klett, did you want to speak about anything new under?
Yes, in the past, I've had to talk with some people, and I'm a very arrogant, sometimes rotten person, and I'm trying not to be. I've said some bad things to people that I shouldn't have and things like that. But what I want to get to is the speeding again on Console Road. I went to the county and the county put a speed sign in front of my house. Somebody came down speeding and wiped the speed sign out.
That's not what happened, but okay.
A squirrel didn't run in front of him, by the way. If you say that's true, then we got a problem because the coyotes, foxes, and hawks have been taking very good care of the squirrel population.
We put that trailer there and we did the external report investigation, and that there was an animal that ran out in front of them and they had it.
And you can't prove it, but I lived there, so I know what's basically happened. Now, with that said, you do know that it's part of your equipment, and the guy decided to leave the scene of the accident.
Okay.
And you know that.
Sure.
So this is the problems that I have. My garbage cans have been whacked again. I don't call the police because when I do call the police, I get like attitude. Why are you bothering me?
Who's that specifically that's giving you attitude?
Chief, you and I,
Talk to me afterwards.
huh?
If there's somebody that's giving you attitude, come talk to me afterwards and we'll handle it appropriately.
Well, I don't know their names.
Okay. Ask for their names next time and come and say.
I've had one individual that was very concerned. He even went into the ditch and got my garbage can out of the stream next to my house. Very nice man.
That was Dustin Spatell. Yep.
I don't know him. He
I do.
lived in Niskayuna, he told me.
I know exactly what it is.
And all these things, it's an ongoing thing. I had my mailbox whacked again, but I was able to fix it. So I can't. To me, I grew up in a different time frame when if you can do it yourself, you do it. I'm to the point now where I'm too old to go around chasing my garbage all over the place. I can't be told change my garbage to a different spot. I've probably moved my garbage cans more than anybody in this place so they don't get hit. So I put them by the telephone poles and it gets hit. The other night it got hit. Didn't knock the garbage all over the place. I mean, this morning, I don't know what time. But I was able to get out there and straighten out the garbage can before the garbage people came. I can't go around keep on picking up garbage. I was told by my insurance company that unless it's over, I think it's a $500 deductible, there's nothing I can do. I'd have to take care of it myself. If there's a way that you guys could possibly consider doing the same thing with Console Road, that I've been in contact with the county and asking them to, in county roads, to change the county roads to 25 miles an hour. And they said that is a very strong suggestion and a very strong possibility. But they need cooperation from all the other little, like Niskayuna, Scotia, Groton, whatever. So if you could put Console Road as one of those considerations, as the person did for, what was it, Grand Boulevard? That'd be greatly appreciated. And I was telling, I had a woman, I was shoveling my driveway and a woman pulled in my driveway and I said, uh-oh, what did I do? That's my thing, what did I do? She motioned me over and she said, she goes, I want to thank you. And I said, what did I do? She goes, well, I saw you on at the town board meetings about bringing up speeding down Console Road, and she apologized. I said, why? She goes, I didn't realize that I had been speeding down Console Road, and I apologized. And she said, would you please continue bringing up the fact that in Niskayuna we have a speeding problem? And I said, yes, I would. That's why the chief and I kind of like made an arrangement that I'd back off for a little while until things got settled down and things like that. And I did some talking with my religious leader, and it's time that we make town officials responsible for what they say and do. The costs and things like that, when you put a dollar sign in front of someone's life or safety, that's where it's got to stop. There's got to be ways of figuring out things without spending. There's got to be ways with being able to communicate. And I'm a lousy communicator. I admit that now. And the older I get, the more I have trouble communicating because of my physical and all kinds of things. But I do appreciate everybody listening to me. I'm trying very hard to get along with the system. I find some systems very impractical. I've got a solution for Route 7. 37 years ago, people said Route 7 was too fast. We had a group that went from St. David's Lane, Pierce Road, Consall Road, couple other roads. They brought the attention to the town. I think this was probably even before you were born.
Probably.
And the town said the same thing then that they're saying now. There was no problem. There's this, there's this, there's this, there's this. But now you found out that there is a problem with Troy Road. There is a problem with Consall Road. There's a problem in this unit totally with undue speeding. And the governor and legislators have come up with a plan to help with that. And I'm asking the town to go along with that plan and try and have all town roads 25 miles an hour. If you can do it in one place, you can do it in all other places.
We'll continue to speak to the county about this.
I've got a couple of appointments that they said would like to talk to me. And I've been talking to the county, and I appreciate it again. And I'd still like to talk to you if we could possibly set that up. And if you need a bodyguard in there with you, I think the chief would like to be in there.
Oh, I don't do private security.
So thank you again, and appreciate you having this meeting. I could have sworn you had it set for yesterday.
I had a family emergency, so I had to move it.
Well, I didn't know that.
We changed it on the calendar. We did everything we could to.
I don't know. Oh, with that thing with the letter with the town, is it possible for the county letter to state in there that the town is going to be pushing for speeding in this unit, and people watch out? Don't be surprised if you get a
Oh, you
ticket.
mean the newsletter?
Yes, our monthly newsletter. We can absolutely add. No problem. Yes.
Appreciate it. All right. Under town events, we have the Coffee with a Cop, which is the third Tuesday monthly down at the Senior Center. Please come see us. Under town clerk, Michelle, I don't know, did we ever wrap up the background check fee concept and food truck?
Okay, Kara, would you like to speak to that? We
have
come up with,
Yeah, we have a new company that we're using in human resources for background checks. They were able to give us a better breakdown of the cost and even by state. And the price has gone up quite a bit just to run for New York State only. If they're in any other state, or it adds, $50 to $100 onto the background check. So we were going to try for this year to set a fee of $300 for a background check. See how that lands, and adjust it as needed, but that my concern is covering our expense, so we're not picking up the expense of running a vendor background check, which I think has happened in the past, so.
Does that have to go, we'd have to do a resolution to.
now, would Chris still be doing that, or would you be doing the back?
I can do that.
Company.
I
Okay.
can do that, it's fine.
Would that be a resolution this month? Or
If
not?
we
yet?
can. I'm fine
Yeah, I
with
would
that.
say it would have to
Bobby
be
language.
because
Yeah.
there's some vendors that come in before the spring.
Oh.
Not too many, but enough to make sure we have it set for January.
300 is kind of like a nice average between like. the
Janet
longer
wanted to
ones.
go with 500, I agree, so.
Love Janet's
$1 million.
idea.
Okay.
Under the court and town attorney, I always leave this on for town attorney Finnan. There's ongoing extreme risk protection order cases, unlicensed dogs. We had one recently that we're dealing with, which is why I had that previous conversation about raising fees and bus patrol hearings. We didn't receive anything specific from the fire departments or the school district, and we don't have anything currently under personnel.
I was wondering if we should add a line for complete street
Yep.
update to
I-
like our template.
I had said that to both Bill and Laura that I'll probably put it, what I'll probably do is I'll probably put it under like citizen correspondence somewhere in there to see if it's applicable, because that's an ongoing concern that we're talking about.
Cool.
So I have a couple of items if you're ready for.
Absolutely.
There was a very nice clip that appeared in the New York Times Magazine, December the 7th. And I encourage people to read the full. I gave one to the chief and suggest if we need any more down there.
Laura, did you go?
I have one from.
Okay.
Bill gives me lots of things.
Well, I have extra copies, so pass that to Laura if she
Sure.
wants to.
Thank you.
We, just quickly, I was impressed by Marin County because they did collect some information. They had a young person that hopped on the back of a e-bike, had a head injury. Parents and everybody really considered lucky that she recovered and she's back to being herself again. But they did collect some data, which is not something that's out there available too much, and is a useful item in this article. I mean, they do say that e-bikes sold in the United States really kind of quadrupled from 287,000 in 2019, over 1 million in 2022. But there are a couple doctors in Marin County, Dr. Alfrey, Dr. Ma, that started looking at injuries. And you'll see on my handwritten page 2 here, the pelvic fracture, uncommon on a pedal bicycle, about 6% of conventional cycling incidents, but for e-bike crashes jumps up to 25%. And the fatality rate on a pedal bicycle, chance of dying from an injury is about 0.3%. On an e-bike, chance of dying from an injury, 11%. A big jump. Findings in Marin County during the same 4-year period, 2019 to 2022, e-bike injuries increased by a factor of 10 from 2015 or 2019 to 23,493 in 2022, according to National Injury Surveillance System. So that's across the United States. San Francisco, California, found that from 2017 to 2022, a 6-year period, head injuries from e-bike accidents increased 49-fold. So that it really is saying in 1 year, if you had 50 times as high, 250 accidents going on there. 2023 in New York City, 2 pedestrians killed by e-bikes, and 23 of 30 cycling fatalities were e-bike incidents. So about 77% where there's a cycling facility, a death. Matt Willis, a former public health director for Marin County, began working with EMS, collecting some data on e-bike accidents recorded by ambulance crews. Data collected by Mr. Willis soon showed that the rate of e-bike accidents was 9 times higher for youths than for riders over age 20. Also, the rate for 10 to 15-year-olds was 5 times greater than for any other group. Now, really, when you look at this, they are motorized. They're motorcycles. They're mini motors, and the jump. Really, when you think about it, when I was in high school, there were kids that had mopeds, but I think you had to be at least 16, maybe 14 to ride one around. And the thing about e-bikes noted is that they accelerate much faster, they go faster, they have more weight, so people can get injured on them easily. And we have a segment of our population, you don't have to have a license, registration, or anything to ride a bicycle. But if you want to motorcycle, you have to get a license at DMV, get things, do training. But now you have e-bikes that go fast, they're heavier, they accelerate quickly. And, you know, if your older brother gets one for his birthday and maybe he's 16, but he's got two younger brothers and one of them that's 12 gets on one that's going up and down the street.
You're being nice. You're being nice. Parents buy them for
I know, that's
kids
what
that
I
are under the age of 16.
Exactly, yeah.
You're being kind. I appreciate that, but
And so, and the accident that's detailed in this story is about, a woman that was on the back of one of these and bike fell over and she injured her head. And really, I think what we're learning is that the injuries on these, that we're really is a matter of time before we're going to have one in our community.
and we have, we already have one.
And we have. And so the next question is, well, what are we doing about it? And, I've listed a few things that, regulations that are on my handwritten 5 and 6 that people have looked at, things that, well, gee, you might have mandatory licensing, registration, insurance for e-bikes.
Isn't that state driven though, to do those three things?
Well, yeah, they're all legislative driven. It's not that we can do it, but I just kind of tried to list a few things that people have looked at in terms of, well, what might be regulated. And you've got classifying of e-bikes, and they are in the, three classifications. That's my buddy Spam. I have 3 buddies in this world: Spam, potential Spam. Now Walgreens, I'll add one to
Walgreens.
since I'm a frequent flyer on medications that they and stuff like that.
So I
But-
see them on sidewalks too. They're not allowed.
You're not.
Yeah, I have stepped out of Lang's pharmacy, and I'm imagining, well, if I get a little older and I get a cane, but the pharmacist might say, "Oh, Bill, look both ways when you go out the door
Yes.
before you step out the door." And it was just a young kid, but he's zipping by on a bike, and you can ride bikes, on the sidewalk, but really, it's a matter of time before. And it's not just us. There are other communities that are looking at this, and Marin County is one of them. I do want to get some information from them on some example legislation and that sort of thing. But what I really feel, and I have communicated with Steve Feeney with the county, and he sent an email that I sent to Laura, to Sandy Mizowitz, who is the Capital District Regional Transportation Council. And so they're aware of it, and, more people are. And what I've said, we've discussed a little bit in Complete Streets, is that, well, it really ought to be a countywide ordinance or something like that, where
Particularly with the Mohawk Bike Path.
and all of it is, are there age things? Like, you had to be maybe 16 to get a moped when I was back in high school. So that's a thing. And then also, should people be required to require a helmet? Or even if a police officer sees somebody is doing some of the activities that that young people do, which is ignoring stop signs, weaving out of traffic, riding double, doing wheelies down the middle, and kids do wheelies on Clifton Park Road in front of my house.
We had at one point with one of these on Union Street where we made an arrest. I mean, I agree with what you're saying from an enforcement component to it. I think the biggest thing is getting all of the county together, in line together with not only what the law or almost a countywide approach is going to be consistent, but also with all the law enforcement agencies say, now we're going to enforce it. The problem becomes the majority of these bicycles that we see doing this are kids under 16, and there is no consequence.
Right.
And so from a legislative perspective, that's what has to change. Not that we can necessarily cite a 13-year-old, but there has to be some sort of actual mechanism.
It could be, if you get an e-bike, they've got to be licensed and insurance. Or you see somebody that's
Or we
doing
want to do a
something,
local ordinance where we impound the bike and there's
and you
$1,000
impound the bike.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Right?
On the parents.
But conversely, and I know Laura feels strongly about this because I talked to her about it, there's a balance because we want people to be able to utilize bicycles and e-bikes. We don't want to discourage from that, but we need it safely done and in accordance with the law, right?
And we're not the only ones well, that are having incidents, I think all over the United States, you know, and so there's more attention that's looking at this.
Go to the city of Schenectady any given day.
Yeah.
And
I
you
wonder
grab
if he and I should, I just sent a message to Chief this morning because the Association of Towns, this is one of their legislative priorities, and they're actually looking for stories and feedback and things that they can use.
If
to
we've had a
lobby
couple
for.
incidents, we should send it to them so that
We certainly
We should generate something to send over. So maybe even the three
I
of
can
us.
write up some of the incidents.
Yeah.
I mean, that come to mind. I told you we had that at least one pursuit with somebody in Union Street. We had a crash up here on the corner of Van Antwerp
I remember.
and not. And then we actually had an electric scooter on the bike path where a father and his daughter were riding tandem on it, and she got pretty substantially hurt. So,
And also, I guess it may be worth looking at, well, what can municipalities do under state law as it exists now?
we can ban them.
Yeah, I
Pardon
think
me?
We can outright ban them,
we
but
have-
we don't want to do that.
We have
no, we're not
options,
doing
but
that,
we
but-
want to make sure that they're in collaboration with the county so that if you drive your bike into another county, you're still following the same rules and people aren't like, wait, I need a helmet now. Now I don't need a helmet, right? Like,
Yeah.
so are there any immediate steps we could be taking? I know I've been trying to get a meeting together.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I have the answer to that, but this article helps, I think. And then it certainly, should the state act or should the county act? I mean, who, especially as we want to be consistent but it may take some time, you know, for that to happen, which is why I'm sort of saying we take a good look at, you know, what the state law is and maybe Association of Towns or Sandy Misowitz or somebody tells us, well, here's what you can do now and think about, you know, how to do that. And I mean, I don't have the answer. I guess I'm just saying, Jess has asked Complete Streets to look at it, and this article is valuable because one, just the injury levels that we're seeing is a dramatic sort of a thing. And I just think it's, you don't want to be sitting on it as you get more and more serious injuries to say, well, what are you doing? And it can't be nothing. I think
Well, I know, like the school district already took action. They banned them from both the elementary and I believe the middle school
No
campuses
kidding.
already this year because of things that had happened.
Yeah.
So they're even aware of what's transpiring because
Because you need to be 16.
you have to be 16 years old, right? So
I think a lot of people don't know, like my neighbor even asked me.
No, because
And
they
I was
don't, they
like-
buy them off Amazon. It's not like it has a flag that says in New York State, you have to make sure this is like.
Can we add that to the newsletter?
Under 16.
Some e-bike info?
I think we
We
should.
said
we already have-
Maybe
we have.
half a page in the newsletter or something like that.
Yeah, we've had e-bikes in the newsletter the last few months.
Yeah.
But I've worked on it and we continue to add.
Really quickly.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
kids Are allowed to have them. You know what I mean? Like, if we do something locally quickly,
Yeah.
I think we'll see.
Or at least
fast
here are the
reaction.
rules and like
Right.
that. I mean, we could come up with something that it's like, we're impounding the bike and, you know, if there's a fee associated with it, but maybe there's like a mandatory education that's associated with it.
Or the parent has to come in and get it, and we explain to the parent like the rules of, so they're aware.
and we
Like no
have,
sidewalks, you have to wear a helmet, you have to be
With-
16.
Helmet is like,
without impounding the bike, we have gone to the houses and educated the parents. But it doesn't necessarily substantially change.
the problem is it's the kids that are under 16 that want them because they don't have their license. They're not going to get their license. They have, and they want to be able to get places quickly.
Yeah.
And so there's like this incentive to,
Yes, there is.
I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, I've laughed driving the kids to school, seeing these kids with like two on the back. I mean, it looks funny, but then you're like, oh my God, yeah, that, like the kid in the back doesn't even have a helmet on. It's, you know, they got all backpacks on and the whole
And the
thing.
majority of them are riding them reasonably and doing it safely. I mean, absent, I think they should all wear helmets. That's a whole nother conversation, but it's not as frequent that we have the wheelies and the cutting in and out of traffic. The majority are staying to the side of the road, riding on the multi-use pass, things of that nature. I mean, they really,
I think bike helmets should just be a mandatory.
I agree.
You should
No, I-
have a
Anything with
conversation.
wheels.
You
That's
gotta-
right.
you gotta have a helmet.
Yep.
It's so many.
aren't they?
On a motorcycle, I think they are, yeah.
It's, I forget what the exact age level it is. I'd have to look back.
That was 14, right? Like up
14
to
and under, I
14?
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause I
Is
think
there-
I was like 14 when it went into place. And I remember being like, this is garbage, like messing my hair,
Isn't it over a certain speed, you have to have a certain, couldn't just be a bike helmet, it has to be something better, more secure.
Would it be worth us as a town putting some basic minor things in place, like the helmet and no sidewalks? And like just maybe even starting with those two things and then the impound with the parent pickup? And
Yeah, that's.
I doubt the county's gonna do, like, if we do something that is like congruent with the rest of the county, they're not gonna be like, no, we don't like those two ideas. Like, those will just be no
Right.
brainers.
So here's the only issue, and Bill and I talked about in the past. What was unclear was, is a multi-use path considered a sidewalk for these purposes? And according
Yeah.
to the article,
Or even a sidewalk riding on Route 7, Ken, if you have an e-bike that just,
but
if you
multi-
pedal it, it goes up to 20, can you ride your e-bike on the sidewalk on Route 7?
with what you sent to us, the multi-use path is a sidewalk in this, so then no adults can ride on a multi-use path. And this is what I mean about how convoluted it becomes,
Yes.
is it gets bigger than that.
It is bigger, and it's
So
not.
now we want to push our residents onto a road versus a multi-use path.
It's like the bikes that have pedals that have a push with
It's
electronics.
electric assist.
Right, and then there's the bikes that are like motoring through over 50 miles an hour. There's like different levels of the bikes as well.
Anything that doesn't
With
have,
Pedals.
anything that doesn't have pedals.
Not that that
is-
stops people
is-
from purchasing them, but easier to grab from them anyways, but.
I mean, I think the class ones that have the motor that assists you, so if you're pedaling on the bike path and you have to go up the hill to GE or something, then the motor kicks in so you can kind of
Yeah.
keep going. I think that's a good idea. But the ones where, you just have the throttle, you don't have to pedal at all, and
Those are really-
it'll do 20.
Those are really,
They are legal, but I don't know if we want to.
No, if they
really,
have,
really.
he's saying if they have pedals and you can still hit the throttle and go. Isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah, the class 2 ones, you can just pull the throttle and they go by themselves. They'll go up to 20. But
with pedals,
Do they
I
have
don't remember
pedals?
the classification on that one.
in other words, you don't have to pedal. You can just pull the throttle and it'll go 20 miles an hour.
have a pedal.
Yeah, but
Well, what they're saying is in the absence of pedals, they're illegal anyway.
yeah. And then the class 3 ones, they're like the one that you pedal and it has a motor, but you can probably do 28, maybe 30 miles an hour, which maybe if you're on the bike path,
Well, and that's that bigger conversation about, so if we do these changes locally or broader, the enforcement component of it, because we have a massive
Yeah.
bike path infrastructure that we are not patrolling every day.
Yeah.
So what does that look like as well,
I
right?
know it's not like you're out there.
Can we start without the bike path and just start looking at town? You know what I mean? Like, start
Roads.
small and see.
roads
Yeah,
Yeah, we could take small steps at
we
least.
don't have to do like
Gee.
everything, solve every problem.
On the bike path, it does state no motorized vehicles allowed. So it doesn't have to be gas, it says motorized.
Right.
So you can just ban, if you by chance you catch somebody, you can impound and go from there. Why can't that be the same on sidewalks?
Well, sidewalks we can already, that's already settled. We can do sidewalks, but the problem is the multi-use pass there's several different issues. There's the juvenile application and then there's the adult application. And I think that's where it's sort of a mixed bag, because we'll have people that will come off of St. Joe's, which is a town road, which is 30 miles an hour, that you can legally ride these on, cross over a river onto the bike path, and then we don't see them. They're gone into the woods, right? But now they are riding potentially illegally on these. And that's what I mean about the enforcement mechanism. How would we do that?
Get more bike cops. I don't know. With some fat bikes in the winter, so I don't know.
It's really hard.
there.
You can
Yeah.
buy a class 2 and switch it to a class 3 and then switch it back to a class 2. Class 3 are illegal. They're the ones that have the throttles and can go up to 30 miles an hour. Class 2 are not illegal. They are pedal assist and they can go up to like 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
22.
But you can buy bikes that you can just switch between them. So like I can't even they could literally like maybe even switch it back by the time the police officer gets to where their bike goes. It's very complicated.
Which again, it's really about safety, helmets, not driving erratically, in an unsafe manner. I think that's what we're really trying to.
Helmets
And if
making
we-
the most.
Yeah, and if we start small and even focus with that juvenile lens and just kind of see, baby steps, how does it look when we're working with the kids and the families and just, as the county comes into and the state comes into the mix with their ideas, but maybe.
And our student representative on Complete Streets, Maddie Hanna, has even suggested some places in like PE classes and stuff, they're teaching e-bike safety there.
Yeah.
So that you get it in the class that you need to ride a helmet and don't be doing these crazy things on your e-bike, or if your friends say, oh, just hop on. But it's not safe because the e-bikes are heavier and they go faster. And
I had talked about with the school superintendent about the concept of bringing back driver's ed. Because we want driver's ed. And maybe there's
It's been a
an
decade or
e-bike
more.
driver's ed.
yes,
And that's the license, like the way
e-bike
they get
drivers
there.
in,
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe we can
Definitely.
talk to
For
them.
SRO going into health classes or PE classes.
But maybe there's a component that we can do more education in that respect as well.
Plus, even a lot of questions just here that we don't have the answers to. We're like, well, this, well, that, but even we're not sure. So even trying to figure out, what can you do in New York State? with state,
Like local
what would you like to
municipalities, we
see?
do have some rights that we can start small with. Maybe that'll be the next discussion of, do we start small? And
I think the helmet
What input?
conversation could be just a no-brainer.
yeah,
If
And the
we wanted to
sidewalks.
even start there,
I think the combination of the bike path, the multi-use path, the bike path, and all the other things that all the other communities are going through might be the package that we send to Association of Towns, because we can't be the only ones with the multi-use path and the bike path going through.
Right.
So I think that's a good thing for them to think through as well, enforcement wise.
Yeah, Jordan said this, but e-bikes are very healthy for humans. And there's a lot of people who wouldn't be able to take a ride. Like, my neighborhood, you go up that hill from, the Balltown Road hill. Like, I can't make it up that hill at all. But, so it allows people to take trips and assist with mobility. And this article blew my mind. I read it before Bill sent it because I love the New York Times. But this is like, I'm amazed by this. Bloomberg New Energy Finance calculates that e-bikes are already cutting worldwide demand for oil by 1 million barrels per day, 4 times as much as all of the world's electric cars.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're incredibly good for the environment.
I know, that's why we have to find the way to make it work.
It just
Yeah,
needs to be safe
safely.
because speed kills. It kills when you're in a car and it kills when you're on a bike. So we got to figure out a way that you're getting those people out on them. You have good infrastructure for them, but they're being safe and they're not doubling up and they're not wearing helmets and they're the right age. Those kind of things.
Yeah.
Quickly, just a couple other things. The town did get a $1 million grant from the state to do sidewalks on Cornelius Avenue from Story down to Hillside Elementary. So we're going to be working on meeting with the neighbors on the west side of Cornelius to talk to them about the sidewalk, and same or also on Birchwood Lane, meeting with neighbors there that they have a sidewalk on their front yard to articulate their concerns. Now that we've got the money, we can certainly talk to those folks, and we do want to do that. And then I have a little note sending around that these sidewalks, a big win for the town, but they join a lot of other smaller projects that I need to put a thank you to Laura Robertson, because she's busy working on the handicapped accessibility and other aspects where we've gotten push button crosswalks in the town, and they're good. So we're going to be trying to move those along. So anyway,
Okay.
that's
Excellent.
kind of a summary for. And then obviously the Safe on Route 7, the surveys are coming back where we've asked residents to look at the things that the safety study has put out there for options for Route 7, whether they want a bike path on the south side of Troy Road, and other traffic calming things that they want to look at. And I think that the engineering company will be taking a look at that. We'll have some proposals, to look at. So that's moving along. And so we've been.
And then you and I have to start working through the grant that we applied for
The safety grant.
over for the schools.
Yeah, I said this at Economic Development Committee meeting. I think I said this to you. Because the grant from the state for the signage on Route 7 requires the entire process to be the same as if it was $1 million. I'm probably gonna combine the two grants together and have the same sign company install all the signage and then just meet the requirements of both grants in one package.
Awesome.
Yeah, it might make the Route 7 signage take a little bit longer, but it really helps with not duplicating efforts on those. Because the Department of Justice grant, I'm sure, is a lot easier to run.
It is, I think it's a hard and fast close by September. So we gotta do, we gotta get together and start.
Yeah,
working.
Will it take that long? Won't take that
no,
long.
I'm not worried about September. The big thing is that I just need to put out a RFP to the engineering companies and it just has to be fair and meet the regulations for the federal highways, basically. Yeah.
Awesome.
Lastly, we're still looking at school zones, so 20-mile-per-hour speed limit on Rosendale Road, where Rosendale Elementary and then Iroquois Middle School are. And we're also still talking about maybe working with the state on a school zone in front of Craig Elementary. It's a little bit more complicated because the speed goes up to 45 on Balkan Road, but it's a school and if there's a possibility of getting a lower speed limit along there, we'd like to look at that. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Bill.
Does anybody have anything else? Okay, so the resolutions are just the purchase of the police vehicles, the authorizing the payment of the Zone 5 Training Academy bill, the surplus of the tasers, and we're gonna add the fees for background checks. Okay. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Who said that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
And with that, we're going to close the meeting right at 3:30. Thank you everyone for attending. Our next meeting will be February 5th at 3:30 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.